Hello, we're learning about the volume of rectangular prisms today. So please copy your notes along with me. If you need to pause the video along the way, please do. You should write everything that I write. So we're talking about volume, and the volume is the amount of space inside a three-dimensional figure, is the volume. So it's how much a shape can hold. Volume is measured in cubic units, and what that means is units to the third power. So there you're going to have area was to the second power squared, volume is to the third power. The reason being is because it's in 3 dimensions, so it's 3D. The way I know that it's 3D is because we are measuring the length times the width times the height. So it's 3 dimensions. So if you would look at your star chart, on your star chart, it has the volume of a rectangular prism right here. So when you were in elementary school, you learned it as length times width times height. So we're doing a very similar activity as that, but it just has a different formula on your star chart. So for formula, I want you to write volume equals capital B times H. I want you to notice that capital B and lowercase b are different. So capital B. The reason that they're different is that capital B stands for area of the base. Lowercase b was just base. Capital B is the area of the base. And H is still your height. Right here is a rectangular prism. So if we're looking at that, if you ever need to draw a rectangular prism, you can take a second, go on the back of your paper. If you want to learn how to draw a rectangular prism, the way that you do it is that you make a rectangle, and then in one corner, you make another rectangle that overlaps. Some of you may know how to do this, but if you don't, please watch. So you'll have two rectangles. Now all you do is connect all the corners, the vertices. Connect all the corners, and now you have a rectangular prism. So try that, only for a couple seconds. Draw one or two just to practice. Okay, so getting back here, our rectangular prism has a base, and the base is the bottom. So I'm going to shade my base. When I say shade your base, I mean color it in. So we're talking about the bottom piece. Let's practice. So it says determine the volume of the rectangular prism. Our formula from your star chart is volume equals capital B times H. So the area of the base times the height. So now on the side, we're going to solve what the area of the base is. But before I do that, I have to acknowledge what's what. This is the base, so that's my capital B. That's my capital B, you can put it here. And my height is right here. That's my height. So in order to find the area of the base, the shape of the base, so capital B is equal to base times height, because the shape of the base is a rectangle, and that's the area formula for a rectangle. So this is my base. So that is just a little picture of what I colored in over here. So our base is 10 by 5. That's what it says right here, 10 by 5. So I need to find capital B is 10 times 5, and capital B is equal to 50. So your area of the base, so area of the rectangle, area of the base is 50. Now we're going to take that capital B and put it back into this formula. So volume equals capital B, which is 50, times the height of the rectangular prism, and your height is 2. So it kind of looks like there's two heights, but one is talking about the height of the base, and the other one is talking about the height of the shape of the rectangular prism. So the volume of this prism is 100, because 50 times 2 is 100. feet cubed. That's your final answer. So I just want to make a note. We previously learned as length times width times height. It's the same thing, but with a new formula. So you always, I'm just making another note, shade your base. Pause it if you need to. Let's do a couple examples on the bottom. So looking at this prism, it's sitting on this. So my base is there, that's my B. My height of the shape is the 3. So volume equals area of the base times the height. My base, remember, is base times height. I know we're using the same words over and over and they mean different things, but you have to think, I'm finding the area of the bottom and then I'm multiplying it by the height of the whole figure. So the bottom right here is 4 by 2. So it's going to be 4 times 2. If you don't see that, that rectangle on the bottom is 4 by 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So then we put that back into our formula. 8 times the height, and the height is 3. Height of the prism is 3. So then the volume of my shape is 24 feet cubed. That's the answer. Pause if you need to. Okay, the one right here, something special about this is called a cube, and I know it's a cube because all of these are squares. This is a prism, this is a cube. Now you do the same exact thing for both. So if we got to a triangular prism, we do a different formula. If we got to a hexagonal prism, we do a different formula. But rectangular prisms and cubes are the same, just because the formula for a square and a rectangle are the same. So my base is right here. So my base is down here, my height is here. So volume equals area of the base times height. Capital B is base times height. So my base is a square and it's 4 by 4. So those are the two numbers I'm going to put and substitute. So the area of the base, the shaded part, is 16. Then I put the 16 back into the original formula. You need to write every step so that you keep it straight. If you're skipping steps, you're going to get confused. So now we do 16 times 4 to get our volume. So the volume is 64 inches cubed. Pause the screen if you need to. Okay, one more question on our notes. So it says, write and solve an equation to determine the height of a rectangular prism if the width is 6, the length is 20, and the volume is 984 cubic millimeters. So the question is asking, what is the height? So let's put our information that we know. So we know that the formula, I'm actually going to draw what this looks like, just so we have a visual. Like I showed you before, 2 rectangles connect all the corners. So the word problem says that the width is 6 and that the length is 20. I'm looking for the height. Formula is volume equals area of the base times the height. Remember the first step, find the area of the base. So our base is 20 by 6. So base times height and that's 120. So I know that my base is 120. So now I need to put that information into my formula. They also told me that the volume is 984. So I'm going to substitute all the things that I know. I know that the B is 120. I know that the volume is 984, and I don't know my height. That's what we're trying to solve. So put all these values into your formula. So 984 equals 120 times the height. So if they give you the volume, you have to divide. So make that note. When given the volume, you must divide. If they give you the parts, you multiply. If they give you the whole, you divide. So in order to solve this, the reason I'm dividing is because inverse operation. So right now this is multiplication. The inverse to multiply is divide. The two 120s cancel. So now we need to do a little bit of division. So 984 divided by 120. 120 I'm going to estimate goes in 8 times. 8 times 0, 8 times 2, 8 times 1 plus 1. We subtract, we get 24. Now we add a decimal, decimal 0. 120 goes into 240 twice. We're left with 0. So the height is 8.2. So 8.2 millimeters. Now this isn't cubed because it's just talking about the distance of something. It's not talking about the volume. So our height is 8.2. If you wanted to check it, you would do 8.2 times 6 times 20, and you should get 984. So what you're going to do is fold this so that the title's out, and then it gets glued in. I need to see everyone gluing in, just don't put it in your notebook. So it goes right after the trapezoids page. Glue it in. Then you can access this when you're working on your assignment. You also need to fill in your table of contents, pause if you need to. So once you have this glued in, the point of taking notes is so that you actually look at them. So we're going to look at today's worksheet. Names on your paper, absolutely, you always need your name. I want you to write the formula at the top. Volume equals area of the base times the height. Remind you that capital B is area of the base. And capital B is equal to the base times the height. Talking about the bottom. Okay, so I'll do the first one with you. Shade your base. That's the bottom. So volume equals area of the base times the height. So we need to figure out the area of the base. The rectangle on the bottom is 18 by 14. So we're going to multiply 18 by 14. So the area of the base is 252. Now I put that 252 into the original formula. So volume equals 252 times your height of the rectangular prism, and the height is 2. So then we do 252 times 2. And the volume is 504 inches cubed. Pause if you need to. That's the answer to that problem. That problem's finished. You're going to finish the rest of the page. Remember, if they give you the volume and you need to find the side, you have to divide.